got to talk about these Auburn Tigers, man. You guys, how you feeling overall about the schedule and how the game's laid out?
I think Auburn got pretty lucky, especially when you look at, I mean, I know we got rid of divisions, but the previous East teams that we get to face, I mean, I know Missouri's kind of on an upswing, but they're losing a lot of key pieces. I don't think people realize how important Schrader was to that offense. We'll see, Brady Cook, and I know Luther Burden's probably, going to return, but I don't think Missouri's going to be the same team that they were this year.
Yeah.
When you look at Kentucky and Vanderbilt, that's going to be an interesting road trip to Kentucky. But with I guess all the controversy surrounding Mark Stoops this past all season, I'm going to be interested to see what that team looks like. And of course, it's always good when you get Vandy, especially at home. I know that they're improving, but I know Auburn doesn't have a home game in October, but I feel like that bye week behind Georgia kind of eases that pain of not having a home game in October. But overall, I see a lot of winnable games on the schedule. And honestly, they could have done a lot worse. I know Alabama on the road to end the season is always going to be tough, but with A&M having a new coach, the transfer portal hitting that program really hard, I'm really not concerned about them coming to Jordan-Hare the week before Alabama. I think Alabama has a much tougher opponent before the Iron Bowl than Auburn does.
Yeah, I think that stretch Arkansas, Oklahoma, at Georgia, the bye, and then Missouri. I think that might be the hardest stretch on the schedule.
Yeah, and I think the fact that that's the hardest stretch, man, I mean, I feel like we got off kind of easy, especially looking across the conference and how difficult some of the other teams have. And I think also, too, getting to open the season with back-to-back home games, especially
Yeah.
against two teams when you look at Arkansas, a team that historically Auburn's gone a little bit back and forth with. I mean, so I feel like that's a game that Auburn fans kind of say that should be a must win, but it never is a must win. I mean, or never is like a guaranteed win. So I
Yeah.
feel confident, man, and I'm glad that Oklahoma gets to experience that Jordan-Hare magic because all of us on this panel know if that's a night game, Oklahoma is
Mm.
getting baptized very quickly in the SEC because I'm telling you, Jordan-Hare at night is a different place to play, and Auburn fans are going to show up for that game just because for big brand opponents that Auburn doesn't have a history of playing, Auburn fans are going to
Right.
show up in that game. They're going to want to give Oklahoma that SEC treatment.
Yeah, Oklahoma is going to bring the people, like you said, that like Texas and Oklahoma both just bringing that brand name in with them. Jordan-Hare night game, and I think, like I said, because CBS is not involved and they only do 2 night games. They used to only do 2 night games a year. ESPN does night games all the time, whether it's going to be on the SEC network, ABC or ESPN. I think a lot more games are going to be at night. Jason, what you think about this schedule, including that game at Oklahoma? Because I think you're trying to go to Jordan-Hare this year, aren't you?
I think I'm trying to get to every one of them. Yeah, that's the main thing is that's the plan is that we're trying to get worked out to where we can go to all the SEC schools. You want the experience, but yeah, man, that early part of the season to get to go out there and check out Jordan-Hare and hear, find out if all this is true. I mean, I did just see New Mexico State go in there and win at night, so I'm not too sure that
It wasn't time out.
It was in
That
a
was
day. It was a
midnight.
news snoozer. It was a news snoozer, I think.
Yeah, it was a snooze fest.
it
The
was a
funny part
nighttime
is
game, wasn't it?
no, no, it was like a 2:30 kickoff. I want to say.
Okay.
And to be fair, we lost to New Mexico State, but then the next week, Nick Saban had to sell his soul for the
31.
win.
That's true. Yeah. Look, the only thing, I mean, obviously, I understand and I respect every one of these schools. Talking a little smack, but I mean, I respect all these schools in the SEC, particularly the way that they protect the home turf. And Auburn is obviously headed into a good situation with Hugh Freeze in his second year. I think he's recruiting really well, and you just kind of expect him to step up in the next few years. So, yeah, looking at the schedule. I mean, you start your first 5 games are at home.
Right,
that's not bad at all.
right. That's crazy. Like that is crazy right there. Stat guy, what you think about it?
Yeah, I'll be honest. That Missouri game is intriguing to me. Missouri returns a lot.
And they
Obviously,
got Marcus Carroll from Georgia State, the running back from Georgia State that transferred in.
yeah, they already got the running back. Their wide receivers are back. Brady Cook, obviously, they returned a lot on defense. The game's in Mizzou. I think that's going to be a very intriguing matchup against teams that are playing for something still that early in the season, still have a lot left to prove, where a loss there kind of knocks you down a peg and you're behind the 8 ball. That to me is the most exciting game on the Auburn schedule.
Bet. Hey, man, we got another guy going to join us, another SEC guy. We'll be talking about his team coming up here soon as well. He's going to join us for the rest of the show. It's my guy, Tim Burrell from Talking Sauce, man, the Florida Gator. What's going on, Tim?
What's up? What's up? How you doing? Welcome, Jason, to the SEC, sir. Welcome.
Appreciate it. I'm
Big
excited.
facts,
I'm
man.
excited
Big
to be here.
facts. Hey, man, listen, I'll be honest with you, dog. Like, this got me hype already. I'm ready for the season to start. This is, as a college football fan, I'm looking at these games again. Like, man, you talking about Auburn at home versus Oklahoma. I'm tuned in. Y'all know, some of y'all know the setup I got here at the house, man. I could watch up to 12 games if need be. So I'm looking at that game. I'm looking at that Texas A&M game too, Blue, at home. I mean, right before Alabama. I think what that does for you, Blue, is it stops, the whole look ahead to Alabama. I think that, I'm not saying that you wouldn't have lost to New Mexico State anyway, but some of the look ahead to Alabama is always going in. I think Texas A&M will write that.
Yeah, I do too. And I'll be honest, I know I'm in the minority of Auburn fans, but it was ridiculous that every single year both those schools just scheduled the most random games beforehand. I mean, man, at the end of the day, I'm hoping the conference moves to a 9-game schedule anyway.
Yes.
But every year the SEC slacks so much because, let's be honest, the week before rivalry week is such a garbage week for the conference. And it's almost just like a waste of space because there's only like 2 teams that play actual games. And it's like, unless you have an upset like a New Mexico State over Auburn, the weekend is just a throwaway. So I would really like to see the SEC spread some of these games out and not just clearly have a throwaway week. And I think you see that now. And hopefully, as we go through all the schedules, you kind of see that these money games or whatever you want to call them are more spread out across the date. So we just don't have dead weeks in the conference. So I really do think that hurts the perception of the conference at the end of the day.
Big facts. Before we move on to the next team, Blue, give me the 2 games as a college football fan you're most excited about for next season.
I think that Oklahoma game, just having the excitement of new brands in the conference, I think it really sets the tone for the future, especially because if these first matchups are great, you almost can kind of start to see new rivalries occur, not like a true historic rivalry, but one like an off rivalry, kind of even like an Auburn LSU. The only reason that's really a rivalry is because of how great the games have been throughout the years of those 2 schools playing. And I know a lot of Auburn fans are upset that we're not playing them, even Auburn, Florida. So I'm really looking forward to the Oklahoma game. And I really think the at Kentucky game is going to be super interesting. I think that's a unique environment in the SEC.
You guys don't play them a lot either.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time Auburn traveled to Kentucky. I want to say it's when Cam Newton was there in 2010, and Auburn needed a huge comeback to win that game in that national championship season. So I think it'll be really cool to get back to traveling to Kentucky and see what that team's about. And Mark Stoops has done a heck of a job up there. I mean, I think you look back 15 years ago, no one thought that anyone could win in football at Kentucky anymore. And Mark Stoops has kind of proven that wrong. And so I think that'll be a very interesting game from Auburn. You're talking about year 2, Hugh Freeze doing a heck of a recruiting job. That at Missouri, at Kentucky can be the difference between a 6-6 season and an 8-4 season.
Big facts. That's a good point there, Blue. Hey, man, before we move on to the next team, you're welcome to stay on the rest of the show. But before we do, tell the people where they can find you at, Blue.
Yeah, you can find me as at McKinnell on social media. You can find me at the Blue Bloods on YouTube, all podcast streaming platforms. And then also, if you're looking for some FCS content, FCS Football Central over there on SI Fan Nation.
We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound, let's go eat. Turn on the fanatic, let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off their plate?